could change and change for the better. Traveling to Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore with executives from high-tech industries, I was struck by India's economic promise, then still in its emerging stage in terms of this modern era, and also struck by its entrepreneurial passion. I saw a country that was waiting to just burst out of the seams, and that is exactly what the world has been seeing ever since. The result has done more than transform India's economy. It has also brought the United States and India closer and created some truly unprecedented opportunities for the future. Today we have an agenda that is very long, not quite as long as the Ganges River, but a long agenda. It includes building on the progress that we have already made in the field of sustainable energy, the environment, curbing greenhouse gas emissions, and we're delighted to have high-level experts here, our leader of negotiations, Todd Stern, and others who are going to talk about this. This topic alone validates our dialogue, because unless our countries lead on these issues, meaningful gains will not happen. And that is obviously, in face of what science is telling us, unacceptable. We've made a good start, but we have to do more within and beyond our boundaries to drive home the urgency of growing economically in ways that are green and clean. And what is clear to everybody is that the choices that one makes in order to grow green and clean do not mean a choice between growth or the environment. Both can take place simultaneously. I'm very pleased that Secretary Moniz and Minister Goyal will join Minister Swaraj and me to discuss energy and climate during the Strategic Track plenary. The fact is that our economic partnership is already growing stronger by the day. Annual trade in goods and services between the United States and India has grown nearly fivefold since the year 2000 to just over $100 billion. And my government agrees with Prime Minister Modi that we can increase that figure to more than $500 billion in the years immediately ahead. Bilateral foreign direct investment stands today at more than $35 billion. It can go much higher. And right now, our economic connection supports hundreds of thousands of jobs in each of our countries. But we're not satisfied because we all know that there are many more openings to explore. We want to continue the momentum, and that is what the commercial component of this dialogue will seek to do. On the security side, our collaboration is always also growing in ways that benefit both of our countries, our citizens, and actually winds up benefiting the world as a result. I spoke last night of India's heroic role in rescuing people, including many Americans who've been trapped by violence in Yemen, and also of India's timely and life-saving response to the earthquake in Nepal. We're also working together in the Indian Ocean. Our joint naval exercise, Malabar, continues to grow in complexity and now includes Japan. We have agreed on a new 10-year defense framework and also on a shared strategic vision for the Asia-Pacific and Indian Ocean that stresses regional security, maritime law, peaceful resolution of disputes, and economic connectivity across the region. The United States is one of India's largest defense suppliers, and we are partnering to develop and produce advanced defense systems, including through our aircraft carrier working group. And as we gather here today, our annual Army-to-Army exercise, the Yudh Abhyas, is underway in Washington State. On health, India and the United States are striving to end preventative maternal and child deaths in developing countries. Meanwhile, we are looking forward to launching a new discussion on oceans conservation, and we're also building an important and far-reaching partnership in the crucial areas of internet governance. So we have a lot of progress to show since the first edition of this dialogue, when it was the security dialogue back in 2010. We also know that the greatest potential of our partnership can be found in the innovative and entrepreneurial spirit of our citizens. India and the United States are both defined by our belief that the future can absolutely be made better than the past. So we also share inherent sense of optimism as people, and we believe in freedom and in the rights of all. We are aspirational, driven by the insecurity, not driven by insecurity or by fear, but we are driven, I think, both of us, by hope. So today, it is clear our destinies are converging. Prime Minister Modi will meet with President Obama next week, and we will work to find ways to play to our strengths. And I'm confident that together we can help to shape a world that is more secure, peaceful, and prosperous than it was before our efforts came together. In closing, our teams have a lot to discuss. I look forward to doing so in a climate of genuine warmth and friendship. And now I'm very pleased to yield the floor to my colleague, Foreign Minister Swaraj.
Thank you, Secretary Kerry. Secretary Kerry, Secretary Pritzker, Secretary Moniz, my colleague Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Minister Piyush Goyal, Foreign Secretary, Ambassador Richard Verma, and Ambassador Arun Singh, distinguished delegates, and our media friends. Let me begin by thanking Secretary Kerry, Secretary Pritzker, and the United States government for hosting the first meeting of the India-US Strategic and Commercial Dialogue. It gives me and my other ministerial colleagues immense pleasure to guide the deliberations along with cabinet-level colleagues from the US government and with officials on both sides. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the US government for the warm welcome and the hospitality extended to the Indian delegation. Friends, these are busy times in India-US relations. The impressive intensity, scale and level of achievements in our bilateral engagement since last year is a testimony to the leadership's direct supervision and the tremendous importance attached to the bilateral relationship by our leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Obama. At a very fundamental level, our popular and bipartisan support in both the countries and shared values of democracy, freedom of speech, and rule of law constitute key pillars of our strategic partnership. The emerging context of India-US political, strategic, security, and economic ties continues to be constantly shaped by international geopolitics, the strength of the Indian economy amidst global economic uncertainties, and the need for partnership among democracies to respond to some of the global challenges like terrorism. The narrative and specifics of substantive cooperative agenda and shaped by increasing convergence of strategic interests and mutual concerns, including in the Indian Ocean region and the Asia Pacific. A strong intent to tailor the relationship to harness political synergies and optimize economic complementarities bilaterally, regionally, and globally permeates India's approach to its ties with the United States. And after hearing you, Secretary Kerry, I can clearly see much of that is similar in the US approach. One of the defining characteristics of our bilateral cooperative agenda since July last year has been purposeful action to implement the decisions agreed between the two leaders, 2 summit-level meetings, regular cabinet-level engagements, robust and frequent strategic consultations, and relentless domain-specific functional interactions have ensured that there is no slackening of effort and no dilution of focus in our engagement on bilateral, regional, and global issues. In this endeavor, the community of Americans of Indian origin and more than 100,000 Indian students studying in the United States provide us an organic, living bridge in the dynamic partnership. To strengthen this further, India would be hosting the regional Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in Los Angeles in November this year. We have also sought to view the economic space of bilateral engagement as a crucial component of our strategic relationship. We firmly believe that an economically prosperous and successful India offers a long-term opportunity to the US industry and capital to deepen its mutually beneficial partnership with India through investment in technology and manufacturing. Defense and security cooperation, strategic political engagement, including in the field of civil nuclear cooperation, science and technology, health, space, energy, trade and investment are some of the domains where we have intense delivery-oriented engagement. In some other domains, though creativity and sharper focus would ensure that we meet mutually agreed objectives and targets. This dialogue provides us the opportunity to assess where we stand in terms of the goals that we had set for ourselves and set new targets and objectives for the future. It is also important that we give ourselves timelines to achieve the targets. We should also be in a position to present to our leaders a clear vision of the road ahead. As I said, these are busy times in our relationship. With Sanjha Prayas, Sabka Vikas. We indeed look forward to busier schedule in months ahead. Thank you, Secretary Carey, once again. We look forward to frank and fruitful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. I appreciate it. Now, Secretary Pritchett.
Thank you, Secretary Carey, and thank you, Minister Swaraj. I am honored to serve as a co-chair of the U.S.-India Strategic Commercial Dialogue with you, Minister Swaraj, with Secretary Carey, and with Minister Sitaraman. I'd also like to extend my personal thanks to Honeywell CEO Dave Cote and Tata Chairman Cyrus Mistry, the private sector co-chairs of the U.S.-India CEO Forum. Let me begin by reiterating the commercial goals set by the leaders of our two countries for the SNCD to increase U.S.-India trade five-fold. We simply cannot meet the goal of increasing U.S.-India trade five-fold without the input and perspective of both our private sectors and without laser-like focus across all levels of our two governments to address the impediments we face to doing more business together. Whether in the public or private sectors, we are all committed to advancing President Obama and Prime Minister Modi's vision of deeper ties between our peoples, our businesses, and our countries, the world's oldest and largest democracies. The good news is business between the United States and India has never been better. Our two-way trade nearly tripled in the last decade, reaching $104 billion. American investments in India have more than tripled since 2004, surpassing $28 billion. And India is the fifth fastest growing source of foreign direct investment into the United States at $11 billion. This tremendous growth in bilateral commerce has created jobs for both our workers, growth for our businesses, and prosperity for our communities. And with the initial steps taken by Prime Minister Modi to strengthen India's business climate, our commercial partnership should grow in years to come. Since his election, the Modi government has streamlined bureaucratic decision-making processes, raised foreign direct investment limits in insurance, defense, and railway infrastructure, established commercial courts that can speed up the resolution of business disputes, aggressively pursued a new intellectual property regime and solicited stakeholder input, and encouraged a competitive race to the top, including ranking all of their states by ease of doing business in order to attract new investment. We commend the Prime Minister and his government on this progress. However, even with these positive steps, India is only America's 11th largest trading partner and 18th largest export market. Our commercial relationship simply has not lived up to its enormous potential. We have known this for decades, but now, given the headwinds in the global economy, neither of us can afford this underperformance any longer. We must remove the impediments that prevent our companies from building partnerships, launching joint ventures, and finding other opportunities to do more business together. We must take action to address the challenges to growth faced by our businesses and our economies. And American businesses stand ready with technology and capital to partner with India's public and private sectors to contribute to India's growth and development. In the United States, President Obama has made improving market access, promoting exports, and attracting foreign investment key components of his economic agenda. For our workforce and our businesses to thrive in the 21st century, U.S. firms must be able to export their goods and services to the 96% of the customers who live outside our borders, including to the nearly 1.3 billion people living in India, the world's fastest growing major economy. Beyond our new markets for exports, American communities also need new investment, which is why our administration established Select USA. This initiative, led by the Commerce Department, is our first whole-of-government effort to attract and assist foreign investors. India is a target market for Select USA, and in a few weeks, our first Select USA India Roadshow will arrive in 4 cities: New Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata, to promote our markets and our economic futures are interconnected, which is why they agreed to elevate our commercial relationship by creating the Strategic and Commercial Dialogue. To achieve our ambitious commercial goals under this dialogue, Minister Sitaraman and I will be joined by senior representatives from economic agencies across our government. This is critical because our companies face a number of significant issues that fall by potential benefits of difficult policy decisions. As always, they will hold us accountable to deliver results. Both the Indian and American governments and business communities are focused on our nation's joint priorities, including ease of doing business, infrastructure development, innovation and entrepreneurship, and standards and global supply chains. Our objectives are simple: to make it easier for foreign and domestic firms to do business in India and the United States, to deepen our ties of trade and commerce, and to strengthen our bilateral commercial bonds in ways that benefit workers and businesses in both our countries. This is our inaugural Strategic and Commercial Dialogue, and I cannot help but be struck by the incredible opportunity before us, an opportunity to help Prime Minister Modi achieve his vision of a rising middle class and a broadly shared prosperity across India, an opportunity to help President Obama to achieve his vision of greater economic security for all Americans, and an opportunity for all of us to achieve our shared vision of a strong, thriving, enduring U.S.-India relationship. As President Obama has said, the United States and India are natural partners. I look forward to working with my government colleagues and with our business communities to seize this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. And now it's a pleasure, I think you're going to introduce your counterpart, or I will.
First of all, may I now invite my colleague, Mr. Nirmala Sitharaman, to give her opening remarks. Nirmala ji.
Thank you, ma'am. Secretary John Kerry, Secretary Penny Pritzker, Secretary Muniz, my senior colleague, Madam Sushma Swaraj, Minister Piyush Goyal, Ambassador Richard Verma, Ambassador Arun Singh, senior officials of the Government of US and the Government of India, and also the media. Excellencies, I thank you for your warm hospitality and for hosting us for the first joint meeting after the elevation of the India-US Strategic and Commercial Dialogue. The first meeting, as always, is very significant as the tenor of its deliberations. Level of commitment and affirmations lay the foundation required for sustained engagement and provide a template for how the partnership is expected to evolve in the days to come. As the co-chair of the commercial track of the SNCD, I have the privilege to present before this august House the report of our engagements. I will also be utilizing this opportunity to make a mention of the various challenges and issues that we need to work together to resolve. The India of today is very different from the India of yesterday, and there is a need for perceptions to change in the way we interact and do business. And I'm not the only one saying it. The CEOs said it in great detail at the CEOs Forum yesterday. We can also draw comfort from the Vice President's address at the US IBC last night, where he clearly underlined the special partnership with India, where, and I quote him here, it is not what US can do for India, but what US can achieve together with India, unquote, as equal partners in progress, which actually sets the contours of how the relationship need to evolve. India is one of the largest democracies with a consistent track record of steady and upward growth, barring few aberrations, and remains committed to transformation in line with domestic imperatives and international commitments befitting a sovereign player in the global arena. We are strongly committed to a strategic partnership and fully appreciate the need for the two nations to work together, both on identifying newer areas of cooperation for enhanced economic and commercial engagement, as also for resolving challenges that impede it in a spirit of Chalein Saath Saath, or together we move forward, as envisioned by our two leaders. The commercial component of the bilateral engagement is steadily expanding. Our merchandise trade in both goods and services has multiplied more than 5 times from $19 billion in about 2000 AD to more than $100 billion in 2014, making US India's largest trade partner and largest destination for our exports. Our two leaders have agreed to an ambitious new trade target of $500 billion, and we hope to continue to work in close cooperation to resolve impediments to trade and achieve the targets envisaged by our two governments. There is encouraging news on the investment front as well, with FDI growth registering a 48% increase over the previous year to the tune of $45 billion. Bilateral investments are on an upswing, with the USA becoming the 6th largest investor in India over the last 15 years, with an aggregate investment of $14.4 billion. Indian FDI investments into USA are pegged around $22 billion, adding both value and wealth to the American society and economy, besides creating huge opportunities for employment. India is at the cusp of a massive transformation on the way to becoming a more open, a highly liberalized, fast-tracked, and hassle-free place for doing business, integrated with global supply chains and benchmarked to international standards in every which way. The commercial dialogue, now elevated, has been an important pillar of our economic partnership, and we have jointly agreed to reinvigorate and revitalize this dialogue, bringing a sharper focus and aligning it with our larger policy objectives by establishing 6 joint working groups, the choice of which also reflects the economic and commercial priorities of our governments. We are committed to improving India's business climate for more efficient, transparent, and effective governance, and several initiatives are already underway to achieve our objective. Secretary Prisker referred to the states which have been ranked. We have worked with our states to rank them on 98 steps on the ease of doing business, and the World Bank report of ranking has just come out. However, when we talk of the ease of doing business, I would like to take a minute to mention the procedural hassles our pharmaceutical companies face in doing business in the USA, which needs to become less cumbersome as also less costly with expeditious clearances. In our interactions with the US side, we have agreed to cooperate for exchange of best practices and information with respect to 1. Cross-border trade, including single-window clearances and non-tariff barriers. 2. Understanding US commercial law regime with respect to insolvency and contract enforcement. And 3. Expanding cooperation in improving business climate through quarterly discussions between officials on both sides. Recognizing the importance of innovations and technology, we have agreed to collaborate in organizing an innovation forum that will provide an impetus to the Make in India campaign. I would strongly urge for appropriate and adequate consideration in acknowledgement of India's core strengths in frugal and precision innovation. We endorse continued discussions on standards based on the success of work done on corrosion standards, where I'm happy to apprise you that India is working towards a national mission on corrosion control technologies and standards. However, in the standards discussion, we have to adopt a more balanced and holistic approach rather than a piecemeal one. We understand and appreciate US concerns on market access, but a similar acknowledgement and appreciation for India's market access concerns on agricultural, processed food, pharmaceuticals, and more labor-intensive products, including textiles, must also garner similar attention and response from your side to enable us to better appreciate reciprocal dialogues and fair and balanced outcomes for both countries. The regulators need to hold dialogues across sectors for us both to benefit and better appreciate the pre-existing regimes and how to leverage the strength of our partnership to improve our understanding for not just enhanced but also constraint-free trade flow on both sides. The small and medium entrepreneurs in both countries play an important role in our commercial and trade relations. India has shared a concept note on cooperation in small and medium enterprise sector, and we await the US response on the same. I would like to suggest we curate a platform for our SMEs on both sides to interact with each other, and maybe something akin to the CEO's Forum for the small and medium sector industry's voice to be heard equally. We have shared a concept note on cooperation in services too with the US side, wherein India has proposed technical cooperation with the US in a series of areas. If we are actually looking at an ambitious outcome from the SNCD, then our bilateral engagement in trade and services will need to play a crucial role, and areas like tourism and allied services, hospitality, yoga, and movement of traditional Ayush practitioners, etc., will provide the fillip required for the enhanced engagement. On totalization, we expect to see a much better response on our long-standing demand for an expeditious conclusion of the totalization and social security agreement with the USA, which we are unable to conclude simply because of an incongruency in the visa and social security regimes in the USA, which surely calls for a reconsideration. On technical textiles, we have made a beginning, and we hope to be able to carry a trade mission to the USA next year. However, it is slightly disheartening to having to say that no interaction could take place on the guava gum. I'm given to understand that USA is approaching Sudan for cooperation on guava gum over India, which is the largest producer of guava gum. We would like to better understand how we can elicit your interest in this area, as we find enormous interest in your universities to partner with us on innovative uses and research on guava. I would want to, in conclusion, I would want us to continue the good work we have initiated and expect the two sides to continue to engage according to the work plan decided by the teams on both sides. To be able to move from about 100 billion to 500 billion US dollars, we would need to not just to synchronize our efforts and change our mindsets towards each other, to evolve more innovative and out-of-box thinking and strategies to achieve the ambitious target and vision set by our leaders. However, this will only be possible if we are able to be open, responsive, and accommodating to each other's concerns and appreciative of our differences without allowing them to be an impediment, but to serve as a guide for our interactions that led to fair, balanced, concrete, and meaningful outcomes mutually beneficial to our countries and its peoples. I thank you once again for this opportunity to update you on the work we have done, and we wait to hear from you on any updates you might have for us during the white space discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirmala.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Secretary Pritzker and I are delighted to have the Energy Secretary's Energy Minister of both countries here, and I recognize Ernie Moniz.
Well, thank you, John, and I'm certainly pleased to have this opportunity with so many distinguished Indian and American colleagues. President Obama has said that the relationship between India and the United States is one of the defining partnerships of the 21st century, and clean energy is the centerpiece of that relationship and key to both countries' sustainable growth. As two of the world's largest energy consumers, our actions obviously have ramifications for global energy security and for the health of our planet. Around the world, we are seeing historic shifts in energy consumption and energy production. Energy flows are shifting toward major emerging economies and developing countries, shifting from Western nations to points east and south. In the United States, we have seen a tremendous surge in domestic energy production, both in terms of fossil fuels like oil and natural gas, and in solar and wind production. The market substitution towards natural gas, combined with efficiency and renewable energy efforts, has helped drive down our domestic carbon emissions and helped American manufacturing remain competitive in the global market. In India, there's no question about the tremendous need for additional energy to grow the economy, and we recognize India's singular focus on meeting that demand and doing so with energy access for all of its people. India is a key partner on energy cooperation, and we both recognize that we must build a future where we use energy more efficiently and rely on cleaner sources to meet demand. Our leaders committed us to working together toward this goal. Through our bilateral cooperation under the U.S.-India Energy Dialogue and the Partnership to Advance Clean Energy, or PACE, and our multilateral cooperation and shared leadership under the Clean Energy Ministerial, we are focused on the technology and policy solutions needed to build that future. I note that the PACE program was the first for which the Department of Energy issued a joint research solicitation with another government, and it shows in the way our scientists and engineers are collaborating on technology solutions. Ultimately, solutions to the climate change challenge, I believe, will come through technology solutions that are sustainable and economic. Driving down the costs of technology makes it much easier to make the necessary policy changes, and I believe this will be evident as we move forward with climate talks later this year. India has set tremendous targets for adding renewable energy capacity, 175 gigawatts by 2022, and also for 24/7 electricity for all. The renewable energy goal brings with it the challenge of integrating that variable generation onto the grid. This is a big challenge, but also a big opportunity. It's an opportunity for new technologies and business models to emerge and flourish. It's an opportunity to meet growing demand while minimizing dependence on constrained or expensive energy supplies. It's an opportunity for India to lead on the global stage, and we look forward to continuing our cooperation in this area. Across all of our priorities, the common thread is the need for solutions that catalyze private sector investment. We saw some of these emerging yesterday in our energy dialogue, new photovoltaic materials and low-cost manufacturing approaches, next-generation approaches to biofuels that are suitable for both countries, novel efficiency packages for energy access, and I might say India's impressive leadership in deploying and driving cost reduction for LED lighting. The role of the private sector will be critical to having these technologies deployed to meet our shared aspirations, because the challenges are far too big for governments to take on their own. We heard a determination to address, perhaps with renewed vigor, civil nuclear energy issues, where the private sector still faces considerable obstacles. Those of us in government have the responsibility to provide the policy and regulatory environment so that industry can make the investments to build the sustainable energy infrastructure that we need. India is emerging as a champion for how developing economies can build a prosperous, sustainable economy with energy access for all, while still reducing emissions and creating a business climate open to trade and investment. In closing, I note that President Obama and Prime Minister Modi made a pledge in New Delhi for increased bilateral cooperation, and in cooperating with the State Department here in the United States and utilizing our national labs, the Department of Energy and our Indian partners have progressed substantially in 8 areas of that pledge in just 8 months. Just to note them, the first is in energy smart cities. Second, India's clean energy access efforts. Third, collaboration on space cooling technologies. Fourth, improving the modeling of air quality impact of energy choices. Fifth, sharing our interest in national grid integration. Sixth, helping strengthen India's national energy laboratories and help innovation capacity building. Seventh, sharing our experience with energy-efficient data centers. And finally, our experience in heavy-duty vehicle fuel efficiency, our Super Truck initiative. This is a very strong start, and we look forward to advancing our energy partnership in both scope and scale in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Moniz, very much.
Thank you, Secretary Moniz. Now I invite my other colleague, Minister Piyush Goyal, to give his opening remarks. Piyush.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Secretary of State, Mr. John Kerry, Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister of India, Sushma Swaraj, Honorable Ms. Penny Pritzker, Secretary of Commerce, my colleague and dear friend, Honorable Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, Minister of Commerce and Industries, Honorable Secretary Energy, Dr. Moniz, my friend, the Tata Group Chairman Cyrus Mistry, the Honeywell CEO, Mr. Dave Coate, Dr. Jaishankar, Ambassador Verma, Ambassador Singh, other distinguished officials from Government of the United States of America and India, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor to be a part of the first India-US strategic and commercial dialogue in Washington, D.C. today. Energy is one of the key strategic components of our bilateral relationship. The energy dialogue, which was launched in 2005, has come a long way in the last decade. We have redrawn the priorities and the focus of the energy dialogue over time. This has also helped us to develop the energy dialogue in a more comprehensive manner to meet mutual expectations. The establishment of 6 vibrant working groups is a pointer in that direction. This dialogue is also an affirmation of the fact that both countries have a strong commitment to engage with each other, particularly in the energy sector, and promote greater technological innovation, scientific collaboration, trade, research, development, deploying environment-friendly technologies and products, and promote sound regulatory frameworks to deliver energy solutions for sustainable growth. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to have an in-depth, interactive and productive discussion with Secretary Muniz under the India-US Ministerial Energy Dialogue to further deliberate on various energy-related issues between India and the United States. During the last few days, all the 6 working groups had their meetings in a very productive manner on the whole gamut of our energy cooperation. In fact, Secretary Muniz very nicely highlighted some of the key outcomes of the energy dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, energy is a key component of our economic development agenda, as also our need for energy security. And both of these are synonymous with the national security ambition of India. Our energy demand is steadily growing at about 7 to 8% every year. This obviously needs uninterrupted quality energy supply to sustain our economic activity and growth, and to meet the aspirations of 1 billion plus people, both for affordable energy access and for quality energy access. Our objective is to provide 24/7 power across India by 2019. For this, we need to make our infrastructure more robust, more cost-effective, sustainable, and inclusive of clean energy solutions. In this journey towards economic prosperity, we have also made our national commitment to pursue a green path to growth. This, in fact, as Prime Minister Modi articulated, is an article of faith with the Government of India and with Prime Minister Modi personally. Given India's climatic conditions, we have declared solar energy as a priority area for energy generation. This has encouraged us to initiate ambitious plans for deployment of 175 gigawatts renewable power capacities, including 100 gigawatts of solar energy, 60 gigawatts of wind, and other sources like small hydel and bioenergy, which may require investments of around 150 to 175 billion US dollars in the next 5 to 7 years. Green and energy efficient power is one of the key elements in the construction of 100 smart cities, which is a priority for our government. The blueprint includes adequate power generation, usage of renewables and energy efficiency technologies, comprehensive waste management, usage of waste to energy technologies, and many other similar initiatives. We are aiming that at least 10% of our energy mix in the smart cities should come from such renewable sources of energy. It goes without saying that the energy sector offers great potential given the synergy between India's needs and the United States resources, its capabilities, and technology. I'm sure that the energy dialogue mechanism will continue to give us the right forum to discuss issues around technology, around innovation and investment, and come up with practical and economically viable options. This would also provide new avenues of investment and collaboration for the private sector in the Indian economy. The energy dialogue has, in the years gone by, made good progress in the form of several joint collaborative projects. We have discussed ways to further strengthen these initiatives and involve the private sectors in a bigger way. We also need to focus on greater cooperation in the unconventional hydrocarbon sector. This has become increasingly important given the limited availability of fossil fuel resources in India. We must plan to strengthen our cooperation in the field of exploration and exploitation of alternate energy sources such as shale oil, shale gas, and gas hydrates. We look forward to LNG exports from the United States from 2018 onwards. This opens a new chapter from our energy security perspective and will also significantly impact our trade imbalance. The linkage of energy with commerce as a part of the overarching framework of the strategic and commercial dialogue today demonstrates the value of today's discussions and will lay the foundation of a sustained partnership between both countries. I would like to conclude by saying that Indian energy market offers significant opportunity for United States, its companies, and the people of the United States to engage with India in different aspects of energy, be it power generation, including renewable energy, be it transmission and distribution, energy efficiency, maybe replacement and modernization of existing power plants, and several other associated opportunities. We look forward to the active collaboration between India and the United States, the governments of both countries, and the businesses in both countries to become partners in our growth story as best friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Piyush. Now give the floor to Secretary Pinsker to invite two CEOs of the CEO Forum to give their remarks.
Thank you
Secretary
very
Pinsker.
much. Thank you. Now I have the opportunity to welcome the co-chairs of the U.S.-India CEO Forum to offer their recommendations for how we can strengthen our economic and commercial partnership. Their input has been invaluable as we aspire to meet the expansive trade goals outlined by our two leaders. I have worked with Dave Cote since 2007. His career is a true American success story, rising from working the night shift at a GE engine plant to becoming the CEO of Honeywell. My friendship with Cyrus Mistry does not go back quite as far, but I have known his predecessor and the reputation of Tata Industries for many years. And it was a real pleasure to meet with Cyrus during our wonderful visit to Mumbai last summer. Both David and Cyrus are successful business leaders who understand and appreciate the vast potential of our bilateral commercial relationship. I look forward to hearing their recommendations, and thank you both for being here. David?
Thank you, Penny. Secretary Kerry, Minister Swaraj, Secretary Pritzker, Minister Sitharaman, my CEO Forum partner Cyrus Mistry, the CEO of the Tata Group, and I thank Group, and I thank you for inviting us to participate in today's discussion. And compounded by the CEOs from both everything that we've heard on the CEO Forum. All that energy makes a real difference if we're trying to get something done, which we are. It is not lost on Cyrus and me that the Forum is now part of the strategic and commercial dialogue. It is a hugely important step that recognizes and elevates the significance economic prosperity can play in building the relationship between our two countries. We're proud to be a part of it. Cyrus and his team found that there were 37 separate U.S.-India government groups working in the commercial area. Combining all these into the SNCD will make that work hugely more effective. All that inclusion comes at a very propitious time, given the commitment of PM Modi's government to greatly improve the ease of doing business. In January, Cyrus and I issued a letter of recommendations. What's noteworthy is not the issuance of the recommendations, because we've done that before. The significance is that 8 months after issuance, there is progress in many of the items, with significant ones in defense, tax, and aviation. Now, while there is progress, there could be and should be significantly more. We believe much more is possible given the relentless energy displayed by PM Modi and his team to drive change, and the commitment President Obama, the State Department, the Commerce Department, and NSC have exhibited. We applaud you all for that dedication. The Forum has developed quite a lengthy package comprising a progress report on the January meeting recommendations, plus numerous new recommendations broken out by our 7 joint working groups. The length didn't come about because we weren't paying attention, but rather because we wanted to provide enough color commentary to facilitate implementation by both governments. One area where I am personally excited is the opportunity for India to become part of the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement. This would be a great win for India's growth ambitions. It could be a powerful stimulant. I've been a member of the forum since its inception about 10 years ago. Sometimes there's a result, and sometimes years go by with nothing happening. The difference is government involvement. We can make recommendations and help to define policy, but at the end of the day, it is government that has to own it and make it happen. When the energy is there from both governments, that energy is transferred to and compounded by the CEOs. We strongly recommend that the 2 governments work together to develop a Joint Management Operating System, or MOS, that creates a regular drumbeat on the recommendations you choose to pursue. Now, we all know that not everything in the report can be accomplished right away. However, with focus on the items chosen and the cadence of a joint MOS, the chance of really good things happening increases considerably. We are really encouraged by our conversations with the governments yesterday when we talked about the recommendations, and this morning, where both governments have committed to development and implementation of that MOS. We also committed as a CEO forum to helping in any way we can. Additionally, we agreed to, 1, select 2 to 3 high-priority recommendations from each working group to assist in that government focus. 2, to issue another version of the recommendations that is segmented by the initiatives of the Indian government, like ease of doing business and Digital India, to facilitate communication and implementation. And 3, to quantify the economic impact of these recommendations in jobs, to again facilitate communication and implementation. We appreciate and are enthused by the increased focus and energy of both governments. We recognize inclusion in the SNCD is a huge and important step. We applaud PM Modi and President Obama and all the departments here today for your commitment. And we stand ready to help as the CEO Forum to assist in any way we can. In that effort, I could not have a better partner than Cyrus Mistry, and I now turn it over to him. Cyrus?